Mr. Speaker, no support to adjust to the profound changes associated with moving to Canada from his violent homeland. Regular isolation from his ethnic community. 6 different caseworkers and 10 different homes in 4 years. This is what 13-year-old Camille had to look forward to when he was put into this government's care. And this is the history the Children's Advocate found after Camille hung himself at the age of 17. To the Minister of Human Services, the points at which the system failed Camille are too frequent to count. How can Albertans believe our system under this government is capable of protecting our province's most vulnerable children?
Honourable Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the death of any child is tragic. The death of a child in care, particularly one who's come to this country for a sense of purpose and promise, is very, very tragic. And we have to take that with us as we try and move forward to build a system that is there for every child, regardless of their background, regardless of where they came from. Every child in Alberta deserves the opportunity to be successful. And the good news, Mr. Speaker, is that we're moving very strongly in that direction. The Premier, when she brought together the Department of Human Services, created a foundation for that holistic sharing that the Children Youth Advocate talked about in his report that's necessary for us to be able to serve these children.
Honourable Member.
Well, Mr. Speaker, given that, ironically, this government is patting itself on the back today for creating more positions like the mental health advocate, and given that under that advocate's watch, Human Services failed repeatedly to ensure basic recommended mental health prescriptions were provided to Camille, or that Camille received addictions treatment, or that Camille received treatment for the PTSD he suffered, will the minister admit that his government is failing so profoundly on the issue of providing mental health services to our most vulnerable Albertans that 10 mental health advocates couldn't fix the mess they've made?
Mr. Speaker, the most profound statement that the Child and Youth Advocate made in his report was that what we needed to do is to work together collaboratively to share information appropriately. And in fact, that's what this Premier determined more than 2 years ago in putting together the Department of Human Services to basically mandating this minister to come forward with legislation both in the Child and Youth Advocate Act, which created the Independent Office of the Child and Youth Advocate, and the Children's First Act to mandate the sharing of information in appropriate ways precisely for this particular circumstance.
Honourable Member.
Mr. Speaker, given that the Children's Advocate has likened this minister's department to an emergency room, lurching from crisis to crisis, while failing to provide the consistent, forward-looking support that is needed to help these young people grow, why won't the minister commit today to providing the resources necessary to guarantee the improved service delivery the advocate recommends, instead of insisting that his plan to divest responsibility to care for vulnerable children won't create more tragedies like Camille's?
Honourable Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, we're doing precisely what the Child and Youth Advocate has recommended, and we started doing that some 2 years ago when the Ministry of Human Services was put together, but we actually started prior to that with respect to information sharing processes, with respect to making sure that professionals, whether they're health professionals, whether they're mental health workers, whether they're teachers, whether they're social workers, whether they're police, work together and share information in the best interest of a child so that children can get precisely the help that they need, that their issues can be identified on a timely basis, and that resources can be applied to ensure that those children get the help that they need. We're doing that, Mr. Speaker, under this Premier's leadership.